Hello, you've just started listening to and watching, I hope, the pilot episode of Bragging Rights, the first podcast solely devoted to Warhammer battle reports. As this is our pilot episode, things aren't quite perfect yet. We'll iron out the kinks as the season progresses and deliver shorter, more concise shows and try to take feedback where possible. In the meantime, we hope you enjoy the battle for Bragging Rights. Welcome to Bragging Rights. This is the first in hopefully a long series of battle reports that we're going to be doing for you in Maine. For you international listeners, I'm sure you don't know where that is. It's furthest fucking north you can get in the United States. Other than Alaska. I guess that was a bad one. Anyway. So in this show, we're going to look at a battle. And we're going to go through it turn by turn and look at pictures with you. And we'll also go over the armies that each player brought, a little bit about the players so you know who's playing, and just give you a closer feel of the battle. In the show, we're playing tournament-style games. Today I played Darren. Darren, what's your handle on the Warhammer forum?
Daedalus81.
And how long have you been playing Warhammer, stuff like that?
I've been playing Warhammer since I was 10 or 11 years old. I'm 29 now, so 18 years, but it's been on and off. I only recently got back in after a long hiatus into 7th, and that was only maybe a year before 8th edition came out. So I wasn't really hugely involved in the old edition. Familiar with 6, but 8th is probably the one I spent the most time with.
What armies do you play?
I play Chaos Warriors exclusively. I haven't decided to start a new army yet, but I am looking at Lizardmen or perhaps Skaven, depending on the Island of Blood box set and how that turns out.
I think
Which looks quite nice right now. My one true army is always going to be Chaos.
Well, my name is Matt, and I'm not Matthew on the Warhammer forum, and on pretty much every other forum I go to, and that's been in that way for about 10 years. I've been playing Warhammer since 1999. No, since the year 2000. When I graduated high school, it's pretty sad. I graduated high school 10 years ago. Anyways, when I graduated high school, instead of investing all of the graduation money that I received into college dorm fees, I instead irresponsibly decided to buy 3 boxes of Warhammer 6th edition starter and a few regiments to make out an orc army. And a handful of books, and pretty much that purchasing scheme is followed since then.
I
out of control.
I spent a lot of my college money on figurines as well. It didn't go so well. But,
Yeah.
I made it out alive.
Years ago at Adepticon was the first time that I really played in a serious tournament, and I met a lot of friends when I did that on both the Cold Steel Mercs, and through one of the Cold Steel Mercs I was actually able to meet some of the Lost Legion guys and start playing with them, and that's when I really got serious about fantasy because I was playing with better players, learning the rules, stepping up my painting. At that time I only had Guzzler's Brew Boys, my orcs, which were painted pretty well, I thought, until I went to a GT and realized that they just wouldn't stand up to the appearance scores. So then I painted the demons that I'm going to be playing today. Since then, I painted another demon army, which I'll probably feature in another report coming up, and I'm working on an ogre army right now. All the pictures of my armies you can see on the Warhammer forum, or just wait till they're on one of these battle reports. We both tried to bring tournament-style GT armies with us. With mine, the appearance was there, I think, but really this is just a modified 7th list, and nothing about it says 8th, and I knew I was going to be hard up against it right from the beginning. what I brought, you can see from the picture, I have my hero choices. These are going to be hard to pick out. But I have my Herald of Slaanesh. She was not my general. She was just a regular hero, and I gave her the blade with the leadership checks. Down in the right with the Flesh Hounds, we've got my BSB. I gave him the Armor of Khorne and the Banner of Unholy Victory. And I'm planning on running him with the Flesh Hounds and just trying that unit out. I'm not really sold on the effectiveness of them yet, but hey, I figured it'd be fun and they look nice. I have a Herald of Tzeentch, who's my general. I brought with him a Dispel Scroll and Master of Sorcery. I chose Lure of Light, which normally I think would be really good because it's good points denial. It's not very offensive, but saving my big blocks, and especially my big block of Flesh Hounds, I thought was going to be a worthy investment. For my core, I brought a unit of Furies, a unit of 20 Bloodletters, 20 Horrors, 13 Demonettes, and as a scouting unit to kind of take care of war machines, I brought in my Nurglings. I wasn't sure how 3 of them were going to fare, but I figured I'd try them out. I brought a Fiend as well for the same purpose. And I brought 5 Flamers, which I don't think there's any argument that they're still viable. Although...
In this game, they didn't pan out so well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one later. And Darren, how about we go over your army?
My army, you'll see that it's not comprised of a lot of units. It is very 8th edition based, and since this is a 2,000 point level game, even if we went higher in points, a lot of the same structure would remain as it is right now. So you'll see in the bottom right corner, the purplish and white Chaos Warriors are Warriors of Khorne with shields and halberds and a full command. These are all painted in a Tzeentch theme. Behind them, you'll see the Hell Cannon. Next to that, you'll see 29 Marauders using Marauder Horsemen as a filler, though I still think Horsemen are useful. I'm not using them at this point level. The Marauders themselves are shield, light armor, Mark of Tzeentch, and a full command. I'm really using them as either a bunker or a unit to tie up other units, something to kind of stand against another unit that might offer a lot of casualties and still stick around a little bit longer. The leftmost unit in front is my 14 Warriors of Tzeentch with shields and the Blasted Standard with a full command. This is typically my bunker. In it you'll see Achold Hellbrass, which I'm using as my BSB, and one of the old Disc Riders as my level 4 Sorcerer. The Sorcerer had the 4-up ward, the Puppet, the Necrotic Phylactery to protect against any sniping spells.
And you've got your Sorcerer on a magnet, so you can put him also on a flying rod to be a disc-mounted Sorcerer. That's pretty cool.
Right, just to keep him flexible. I didn't want to sacrifice the entire model, so I just... With the new 8th edition rules, it's better to have models on foot for the most part. I may put a Disc Rider out there sometime in the future, but right now, probably not.
And who had the Golden Eye?
The level 4 Sorcerer would have had the Third Eye of Tzeentch, which is the one that lets me copy the other caster spells. So you had taken the Lure of Life, so if I have my spells, and then I could have stolen your life spells. I can't use Regrowth with that, but a lot of the other nice effects I can steal, which gives me a little bit of an edge. Behind them, you'll see my Chaos Knights. There's 5 Knights and then a hero with a halberd, Mark of Tzeentch, and the 4-up ward, Talisman of Preservation. So that gives him a 3-up ward overall. It makes him pretty tough in combat. Typically, I'd put him on a Daemonic Steed in a larger point game, and if artillery targets a unit, I'm not really too worried about it. And one last note: my Sorcerer took Shadow as his lore, and this is a all-comers tournament list, so I'm trying to balance all my parts against anybody I might face. And at Shadow, I figured it would give me enough flexibility to compensate for anything that I might lack.
One thing I thought was kind of weird about your list is you didn't take the Banner of Rage on your Knights. Was that a GT composition decision, or Was that just you don't rate it high enough to take?
Well, Frenzy's not a bad thing anymore, so it's not something to be squeamish about taking. I didn't take it. I just really didn't have the points, and I didn't feel it was that necessary. The hero I have in there gives me the extra hitting power that I felt was necessary to do the job, although it's probably at greater cost than just, well, it is at greater cost than buying the banner, though he tackles a few other situations that could arise. The 10 warriors on the right, though, are Mark of Corn, so they have halberds there, I forgot, and a little bit extra hitting power in that fashion.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was for comp reasons or not. I should bring up that we live in the Northeast, and at all the Northeast GTs and also at the local stores that I've played at, I've convinced them to run it this way. We have what's called a comp council, which is a couple members from each of the major teams all vote on the lists beforehand and give them a comp score, and then you show up on the day of the event and you find out your comp score. Obviously, nobody ever agrees with the comp scores, but for the most part, they get within a couple of points of where you think you should be and where the majority of players think you should be. So in a lot of these reports, you're going to notice the lists aren't over the top, and they're not going to be Ardboy style lists because we, in our friendly games, play within these comp restrictions. I'm usually aiming for between an 8 and a 12 for my armies, and I feel like most of the players I play with, they're also aiming for that same spot. We rolled up the scenario of the Watchtower, which I was not excited about in the slightest bit, because playing against Chaos is not fun when they win that Watchtower on the first turn. I knew right from the beginning it was going to be pretty hard for me to take that away from him if he rolled it. We set up the terrain. We've got a couple forests and a river. We have 4 hills, we have a marshland, and we have a set of obstacles.
So I rolled up my spells for Shadow. I got Steed of Shadows, which was going to be useless to me in this scenario, although it can be handy in other situations. I also got Occam's Mind Razor, which I opted to trade out for the signature spell, which reduces weapon skill, ballistic skill, initiative, and movement, or movement. Because I didn't, Demons are typically a low toughness army, and I didn't think I would need this extra strength to hit or to wound when I already had the toughness reduction. So I traded that out for an easier to cast spell, and then I had a double which I chose to throw on Penumbral's Pendulum, I believe it is, which is the one which is like a cannonball, 66 inches, and you pass an initiative test to try to not take wounds. So I figured that would have been a better situation to knock out some of the multi-wound models instead of trying to use Pit of Shades with his, he has reasonable initiative with the demon, so I opted for the Pendulum to take out high wound models instead.
Yeah, with my Master of Sorcerers, no choice involved. I had all the spells in Lore Life, and then my Horror block had the 2 range spells, D6 plus 1, D6 plus 1s, and then the Bubble spell, which is D6, D6 to everything in 12 inches.